Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to create a dynamic responsive data table using advanced custom field, or if you want to use MetaBox, still okay. So this is what we're going to be doing. So you can see this is the table is responsive. By the time we get to the lower breakpoint, it changes the the view and breaks each person into a different section. I just want to note that this table is going to be done using the proper HTML tags because we want it to be accessible maybe to screen readers and assistive technology. So this structure is what we're going to use. So you have the table, you have the table head, and then you have the table row, then the table headings, and then you have the body and the table row with the table data. Let's jump into Oxygen and start. First of all, I'm going to add a section. In that section, I'm going to add a div, and I'm going to quickly rename that div to table wrapper. I'm going to give it an ID of table underscore wrapper. And then I'm going to drop in another div that is going to be my table. So I'm just going to call it table. And then I'm going to use a custom tag and change that tag to table. And then I'm going to drop another div. Okay. I'm going to have two of those divs. So this is going to be my table head. Okay, and then we're gonna have body. Inside the table head, I'm gonna have the th, which is the table headings. Now, because it's gonna be a text character, just a text tag, okay, we're gonna use text. We're not gonna use div for that one. So you're just gonna put in a basic text. And first of all, let's go back and change this tag to t head, and then these to t body. Okay, so this is gonna be the th. And I'm going to change the tag to th here. So I'm going to make that 5. All right, so I have 5 of those. Now in the body, I'm going to have another div, which is going to be the table row. I'm going to change this to tr, but for the tr, I'm going to give it a class of tr. And then, now the reason I'm giving it that class is because we're going to have more than one tr, and I really would like to use the class for some breakpoints, at the later breakpoint, the smaller breakpoint, I want to use it for certain styling. Next, I'm going to add the table data, like this, td. So I'm going to add a text, and then I'm going to call that td. And also remember to change the tag. And before we go ahead to duplicate our table data, now at the lower breakpoints, we're going to need what we're going to use to make this work. And for that table data, we're going to give it an attribute called data label. All right, label. And for this first one, so the first one, we have a serial number, so we're going to give data label corresponding to these heading. So we have serial number, name, age, marks, and status. So the first one is serial NO. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that 5 times. 1 2 3 4 5. So we have, for each row, we have 5 data, okay, 5 set of data, whatever. And so I'm going to just go duplicate it. And for this one, we have the data attribute. I'm just going to quickly pin that to the front. In fact, let me undo that. It's easier to do one first. I'm going to pin that, then I will duplicate. Okay, so we already have serial number here. The second one, I'm going to change it to name. See, it's easy to pin it so you can quickly access it. The third one, I'm going to change it to age, then marks and status. Marks and status. I know I said it's going to be dynamic, but first of all, you want to lay out the structure of your table so that you have a clear picture of where the repeater will come in. So I would recommend doing it like this, where you already have a structure for your table. Already what we are seeing here should display as a table, but let me finish. This is supposed to be a serial number, which is 1. This is supposed to be name. So that name, I'm going to call this Dinesh. Oh, yep. We'll have the age. I'm going to say 34. I have the mark, I'm going to say 50%, and I have the status, which is going to be pass. And then the table head, I'm going to quickly edit that, which is going to be serial number, and this is going to be name. This issue with Firefox, if you mistakenly select something, it just selects everything. Age, and this is going to be marks, and this is going to be status. Now I'm going to save this, and let's take a look at the front end and see how it looks. It looks good. Now I want to quickly note that I had to do some tweaking for this table to look good on the front end. I'm going to go to my style sheet, and then I already have it, so I'm gonna clear everything that I have here. I don't like this selection here. I'm just gonna quickly refresh the browser. Hopefully Oxygen loads fast. Good. Now you see what happens here. So this doesn't display properly. I'm using Firefox right now. If I take it to Chrome, you see that it shows like a table, but here it doesn't show like a table. So in Firefox, the table that you do in Oxygen might not display properly. There is a way to fix that. I already created a style sheet here, and then I'll first of all target the table wrapper. The reason this is not showing properly is because Oxygen's class for the divs, which is the CT div block, overrides table styling in Firefox, but that doesn't happen in Chrome. So we're going to target every div that is inside the table, and then we're going to change the display. So we're going to revert. Okay, so you can see what happens there. See, if I take that off, so we're going to revert. So that causes it to display properly. So you can see it works now. Okay, now let's start doing our styling. So I'm going to select my table. I want it to be full width. Okay, I'm going to select the table tag. First thing we're going to do is to give it a width of 100%. That doesn't look like it's taking effect. The table wrapper also has to have a width of 100%. I'm going to go ahead and give the table head th a background color, and then I'm going to give it a color of white as the text. So you can see the changes are being applied right there. Text align of left, move that text. I also want to give it a padding. I want the padding top to be 12 pixels and the padding left and right to be 15 pixels, so maybe 16 pixels. Now you can see that there's a border here, and I haven't given my table any border, so we don't want that. We want to be able to control the border. So I'm going to go back to the table tag and give it what is the table property called border collapse. Then I'm going to say collapse. So I don't want that, so I can give my own border. So I'm going to say border solid 1 pixel, and I'm just going to make it white. And then I'm going to target this, but before we do that, let's duplicate this table row. So we already have all our data attributes in the table data, so we need 5 of that, and all I need to do is just to change. Actually, I'm not going to bother changing this since we're going to use repeater, so I'm not going to bother changing this. So I know we're going to have individual names here and different serial number and all of that. I'm just going to go ahead and continue styling the table. I'm going to style the table row. I need it to have alternating colors, so I want to style the nth child even. So I'm going to give it a background color of that. Let me collapse this so we can see. So you can see the table data, the data is, close to the edge, so we want to do something about that. So for the table data, I'm just going to give it a padding of 8 pixel up and down, and then 16 pixel left and right. I'm going to save that, and let's see how this looks. So this looks great on the front end. So if I decide to check the responsive for this, so you can see how it looks. So that is how it is. So we will have to quickly do the styling for the responsive. So that is going to take effect at the lower breakpoint. So we're going to go at media. So we want to use a maximum width of 179. Okay. And everything will go in here for the smallest breakpoint. So let's take a look at how it looks on the smallest breakpoint so we can see the changes. So now what I want is, first of all, I don't want to see this table head. I don't want it to be there, but we cannot use display none because we need it to be available for screen readers. So if we say display none, it's not going to be available to assistive technologies. So we have to find a way to get it out of sight, but it's still there in the DOM, it's still accessible. So what I'm going to do is just going to target that and set it to a position absolute. Yeah. And then I'm going to say top 0. I'm going to say left 0. I'm going to give it a width of 1 pixel. I'm going to give it a height of 1 pixel. I'm going to give it an overflow hidden. So that goes. So the next thing we're going to target is the table data. We want to find a way to bring in that these headings back here. So we're going to use td before pseudo element, and then we're going to give it a position of absolute. I'm going to give it let me first of all give it a background. I think the first thing you typically do to a before and after element is to give it a content. So let's try that. So I'm going to give it a content, but instead of giving it, like if I say, oh, content should be hello, you can see that hello pop up there. Okay. But we're not going to use hello. We're going to use the data attributes that we gave to this table data. So all these data attributes. So let's go back, and then that is what I'm going to use as my content. So I'm going to use attribute data label. So you can see that that shows up. So you see the serial number shows up where you have serial number and all that. So the name comes up where you have name, age comes up where you have age, marks comes up. Okay. So I'm going to position it absolute. Yeah, let's just give it a left of 0 and then a top of 0. I'm going to give it a background color. A background color of, let's give it the same background as this. Now, see where it is. So that is supposed to be, so we're going to give a table data a position of relative. Okay, something is wrong here. All right, Sean. So yeah, that's the background color. I'm going to give it a width of auto, and then I'm also going to give it, I think before we do that, I'm going to select my table row. For the table row, I think I'm just going to go into Oxygen. Okay, I mean the structure panel, and I'm going to select that, and from that class I want to use the grid property. So I'm going to display as grid, and then the minimum width, I want it to be 0, the gap 0, and then the gap bottom 0. Let's go back to the table. So I'm going to set the minimum width to 40%. I'm going to set the color. Let me just put that color there to white. I'm going to change the font size to 15 pixels. Let me make that 14 pixels. Let me increase the font weight 700. And then I'm going to add paddings. 8 pixel up and down, 16 pixel left and right. So everything is taking shape. Okay, I think that's basically it. Then for the table data, I'm gonna give the text a line of right. That means I'm gonna enforce text align left here. Okay, that's for the table data, and I'm gonna give it a padding right, of 16 pixels, and I'm gonna give it border. Just gonna give it a solid 1 pixel white border. Okay, I'm not quite sure why I have a lot of stuff here. I mean, without the border. Okay, I think it has to do with the grid stuff. So let's go back and check the table, that gap. If I give it 20, yeah. Okay, what's going on there? Okay, I'm not quite sure, but we're gonna revisit that. Let's just leave that for now. Let's finish off with this. So I'm gonna save this, and let's refresh and see what happens here. Okay, so now the problem here is that the serial number comes before the name. I'm going to add a CSS that will resolve that. So now I want to target the name. Okay, the name, table data, the name. So I'm going to use table data. Then I'm going to use the attribute selector. What am I doing? Data label. Okay, equals the name. Then I select that, and I'm gonna give it order. Now by default all the elements have the order of 0, so I'm gonna set this to -1, so it moves the name first. And because it's the name, I want to just, you know, emphasize it by increasing the font weight. Save that and see. So we still have our table header in the document. So we're using the pseudo elements, you know, to represent what the table header does, but the HTML structure of our table remains the same. So we haven't changed the structure, so it doesn't interfere with the accessibility. Okay, so let's do something about these colors. So for the table row, I'm just gonna give it a background color. So let's just make everything that color that we used earlier, so that you know, those white lines will show. I think for this before and after, top and let me just, I think I'm supposed to give it a bottom value to fill in that gap. Yep, that was it. So without that bottom value, that gap is filled now with the bottom value. Save that and let's refresh, and that looks okay. So I wanna separate the names. So the table row, I think that should be for the table row. I'm just gonna give it a margin bottom of, say, 2 rem. That separates the names, maybe 1, depending on your taste. Okay, so we are done with the table setup. So everything looks perfect. Looks perfect. Okay, so now what is left for us to do is to hook it up with the, you know, dynamic elements. So I'm going to go into, I'm using advanced custom fields. I want to create a repeater, and I'm just going to call this table data. I'm just going to call it table. All right, and I'm going to publish it, but I want to set the page. So I want my page to be, I have my responsive data table here. That is it. So I want it to be, I want this field to apply only to this page, and then I'm going to add a field. I want to add the field. I want to call my field table data, and then I want that field to be repeater. Good. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the different fields. I'm going to have my serial number here. It's going to be a text field. So I'm just going to, do that. Add another field. I'm just going to call that name. All of them are going to be text fields. I'm going to add another field. That is going to be age. I wish I were as fast as Jonathan. Permaslock. Marks. That guy is a keyboard machine. Status. All right. Good. And I'm just going to save this. I think that should do. So we have all these fields: serial number, name, age, mark, status. I'm going to go to the pages and fill this information up. So advanced, I'm going to call this, that's what it's called. Okay, just collapse this. I'm going to add my serial number. Let me just quickly just do the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the names. I have this as John. I have these as Cola. I know that I'm gonna have my own name. What's that? I'm gonna have these as Dan. Gonna have this as 34, 46, 23, 28. Let's make this 30. The marks, give this 50%, give this 34%, give this 40%. Of course, you really don't need to add that percent. You can actually append that in Oxygen. 60%, and then status passed. Gonna have another status failed. I guess most of them will be passed, so let me just copy it. Passed. I think the third one is fair. Okay. Oh my god, just wasted time. Okay, so I have this Oxygen stuff where you have this open and you can update while Oxygen is open. So I'm quickly going to set this up again, okay, because I just wasted my whole day for this and I can't save it. So I'm quickly going to turn off this and then we'll continue. Okay, so I've gone ahead to populate the content. I'm going to save it and I'll have to go back into Oxygen. Pretty fast. Okay, so we have our content. So now we have to look at the structures to determine where exactly are we going to put our repeater. What do we want to repeat? So what we're going to repeat is the table row. So this is what we're going to repeat. All the other contents are going to be static, like this is going to be static, and the table row. So we want to repeat this. So we have to drop a repeater in the table body. So I'm going to add a repeater, and then I'm going to move it here. And now this first div is going to be a table row because that's going to be repeated. And then I'm going to give it a tag of tr, and also I'm going to give it that class of tr. And inside it, I'm going to move in the table data for okay, so that is it. You'll have the point. The table data. So I'm going to move that table data there. And what do you know? This is 4.0, so I could just cut and paste. So I could, okay, copy and paste. All right, copy this and paste. All right, let's continue. I'm going to delete all the others. So I have my table data. So the first, what I'm going to do is to query the repeater. So I'm going to go to the query and I'm going to go to use ACF Repeater table data, apply params, and you see it automatically pulls in the number of rows that we have in the back end. If I go to the back end, so you can see we have 5, so it pulls in 5. So what I'm going to do is to take this and so we're repeating the rows, so we're going to manually insert that data. Serial number, and then the serial number is going to be there. So the second one, which is the second row, we're going to insert the name. And the third row, we're going to insert the age. And then the fourth row, we're going to insert the percentage. Now, because I want that percent sign to be there, I'm just going to select it, because I didn't add it again. So the marks, I'm going to insert the marks. So you see, so we have 50, 34, like, and then the last one, we're going to insert the, oh dear, I've done that again. Okay, insert the status. And save that. Now, I noticed that when using Repeater, you can't just get it to show better than this inside the editor. But when you go to the breakpoint, it shows properly. But when you're viewing the table, so no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't get this. Like, it doesn't matter what I tried, 100% width, whatever. It just stayed like this. And I believe I can live with that. And as long as this works. So now we have a responsive table with dynamic data. So now if I go in, now I cannot, I'm going to have to close this now, because we are done with it. So because I want to be able to change this data because of this lock, you know, you can't edit stuff, Oxygen stuff. Okay. So now we have, let's say this score is 50 and someone wants to go in and change it to 80. And it didn't change. Oh yeah, this is, sorry, I'm looking at something else here. Okay, that's 80, and let's say we want to bump this to excellent. And refresh, you have excellent. So everything works as it should. So you don't need to manually, you know, open Oxygen to edit those. You can do everything here. And I can add another row. I can add number 6 and just call it Elijah. And we give him a 95. Oh, he's not 95 years old. Yeah, let's just give him a 45. And then give him a 96% for his great work on the Oxygen. Okay, and then yep. So we don't have currently that the last person is Udoro here, and then Elijah is added. So we have Elijah as the 6th person. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial and you learned a lot. If you did, please hit the like button. Okay, subscribe and comment. Let me know what else you would like me to do. It would be nice to have tables that are sortable. Yeah, I think that would be great to have, and probably I will find time to make that happen. Have a great day. I'll see you again.